Hello and welcome to Round Robin. I'm your host, Robin McCormick with the City of Hampton. And today we're going to talk to someone who is very special, innovative, creative. I don't want to tell you too much about her because she's going to have a wonderful story to share with you. Her name is Allison Moore. Welcome.
Hi, how are you doing? I don't know why I did this wave to you like you.
I know. Well, you had a thriving career as a human resources professional. You had a master's degree. It's what you were doing.
Yes.
And then what happened?
And then, well, I got fired.
Oh, okay. Well, that's a life changer right there.
It is. Now,
laid off is really what you mean, right?
That's what I tried to say for the first year. And my old boss was like, please stop lying. You got fired. Which is really interesting because the joke is, how did you get fired and you were in HR? Like, you should have seen it coming. Literally, I should have looked down on the paper and seen it coming. I should have seen my name. Like, oh, that's me. But it was a position. I've been in human resources almost 10 years, and so I'm ready to get into a managerial role, and I really wasn't ready. I thought that I was ready, but I wasn't. The maturation process hadn't been there yet, and leaders have a different responsibility, you know, and I wasn't. I'm like, oh, I got a desk. So I thought I could just take pictures and look cute at work. And they were like, no, ma'am, you're going to have to produce. So that was a really good moment for me to grow up professionally and transition my mindset. But when I got fired, I'm like, oh, well, then I'm going to be a famous comedian. I told my husband, you know what? I want to do comedy.
Had you ever thought of that before? Or was it like at that moment, well, I'm going to make fun of this?
Right. No.
You had worked on it before.
Yes.
Okay.
I'd been doing comedy as a little side hustle for, at that point, probably about a year and a half.
Okay.
And I've always been naturally funny, but I never thought of myself as a comedian.
Right.
But I was always comfortable, like, talking in front of people and that kind of thing. So when people started to tell me, you should do comedy, I'm like, can you get paid? And they were like, yeah. I'm like, oh, wait, what? Who, me? What? So that's
a tough business because not very many of them get paid, or at least not very much. So which I assume you learned.
Yes, very quickly, very quickly. So I told my husband, I got fired, but don't worry, because these people in Hampton tell me that I am so funny. I'm gonna be famous next year. Now, granted, I had to go back and ask for a couple of extensions. Like, I could feel it this year. This is my year. But that was my journey into comedy. And then once I got in, you know, it's all about that hustle. Then I started to learn, oh, this is why I got fired, is you gotta work with anything, whether you're working for someone else or for yourself.
But I think there's more hustle when you're doing it for yourself, and you've gotta make those connections, make those jobs. Yes. It's not like you get hired and do it.
Right.
You gotta keep yourself out
every
there.
day.
Is that hard?
Yes, it is, especially because you'll get to, what I did was I would have great success. You have a wonderful show, a lot of social media, you know, like, high five, you're doing amazing. I'm like, yes, I am. So I didn't do anything for 2 weeks. Like, hold on, that's not how this works. As soon as you get off the stage, you still got to find you some more business. You still have to push out that content so that people will know you, see you, love you, want to book you. And so understanding how aggressive it is to work for yourself, to market for yourself, to connect, do the networking, work on material, continue to show yourself as someone who is hireable. Whew,
that's
I'm
hard.
tired talking
That's
about
why
it.
I never did it. I left the newspaper business. Everybody else freelances. I'm like, oh no, I could do it, but I don't want to go out there. It's just too much to get the jobs.
Yes,
you know?
It is. It is definitely.
I admire that though. You're brave.
Thank you. Well, that, or, you know, I try to call to get back in the workforce. They're like, you've been out for a couple of years. What have you been doing? Telling jokes.
We don't need that. You'll just disrupt the office.
Right. Like, how you gonna be serious telling jokes?
But you had success.
Yes.
As a comedian.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Tell us how the Sinbad thing, that connection came about.
So I'm on this journey. I'm starting this entrepreneurial journey, and I'm like, well, how can I let everybody know the type of comedian that I am? Because I'm a clean comedian. So I don't curse. Which is not
common.
It is not common. I don't curse on stage. And so I wanted to show, you know, I started to say, well, think of me as a 2017, at that time it was 2017, Sinbad, the female version of Sinbad. And so I said, I want to open for Sinbad, because I felt like being in an audience similar to his will be that,
yeah.
How do you open for Sinbad? So I got this bright idea, well, I'm going to try to book him. I'm going to have a show. So I did. I had a show in 2017 at Norfolk State University. And it was great. We had about 750 attendees there. And Norfolk State University is my beloved university. That's where I got my bachelor's from, Norfolk State. And I got my master's from George Washington University. And so we did a show there. It was phenomenal. And that started the relationship. I think, he got to see like, whoa, you got all my money. This is, better than some of these promoters here. And he let me open for him then, which then he got to like, hey, you kind of funny, kiddo. So then he let me continue to open for him. So that was a really
like
cool
how many
experience.
times did you travel?
Yes, but just a few times. So he has an opener, and it's more so when that opener is not there, I'm like, pick me. Hey, I'm still here. But he's also a musician too, so he does different things with his acts. If he doesn't have his normal openers, sometimes he'll do his instrument playing and he'll have jazz and things. But around the East Coast a couple of times, he's allowed me to travel. Because I'm like, hey, I can get there. I'll walk. What you need? Call me. So that's been pretty cool. And it allowed or afforded me some other great opportunities. Because if you can land more than one gig with someone at that level, then that's definitely on your resume, so to speak. So that was a great blessing for me.
So you're going up. You're getting
famous on my street. It went over to the next street. What? At the 7-Eleven, people started to see me. And then my house burned down. We had a house fire, and that was exhausting. It was absolutely crushing.
Oh, how do you work? I mean, you got to replace your clothes, your kids. I mean, wow.
We had to replace 100% of everything, and that was definitely a challenge because it was just everything, So I have 3 children, a husband, a family of 5. We were displaced for 11 months. And not only was it challenging, obviously, internally with all that, so the children were home alone and cooking French fries, and the house burned down. So they got out, praise the Lord, but, the damage, And in addition to having to do that in my personal life, my job was to go and make people laugh. So that was where I really matured,
Could you still do that? Like you're in this moment of personal disaster.
True disaster.
And you're still going out?
Yeah, I had to pay bills. So, you're like, here's my check. Okay, and knock, knock. Who's there? But, it was still hard, though, very hard. So therapy was absolutely beneficial. And that was where my community was definitely a huge support. But it's in those really ugly moments that pressure comes. That's where the diamonds, the pearls, the jewels are really starting to have the opportunity to shine. Because I think that was where especially some of my followers that kind of watch me from afar or clients that I was probably trying to get to had even greater, like a level of respect, like, didn't that girl have a fire? Wow, she's still putting out videos. Obviously the content and things were not the way that they were before, but it was a great way to show, hey, I'm somebody that you can call on even when things in my life aren't necessarily at the highest. I'm still able to deliver and produce, and I got to show myself that, I can do it.
Did it change your comedy? Was it more personal afterward, or?
No, it didn't change the comedy. I was always known for making jokes of, my life. Prior to that, I had a lot of people knew me as because of a closing bit that I use. So the way that comedians describe their jokes is like bits, right?
Right.
And so one of my topics, my mother is deceased, and I talk about handling the expenses of the funeral. So I was definitely running that joke for about a year, talking about how expensive it was and how when I saw how expensive it was, I had to start taking some stuff off. Like, oh no, we don't need a pillow. Mama don't need a crook in her neck. We don't need a sheet because she don't know she's cold. Let's take some of this stuff off. The obituary, I condensed it to say, girl, bye. So I already started to have that kind of sense of humor and that comedy. So when the fire happened and after the dust settled, then I saw some humor. Oh, well, I didn't want to clean the house anyway, so hey, that kind of thing. So it kind of, that's normal to me, but still doesn't mean I wanted my house to burn down. Right. And that's how people do. They're like, but the greatest comedians, Allison, they really laugh at the hardships of their life. I'm like, well, I don't want to be great. I'm cool with being good. What do the good comedians talk about? Because this is hard, being the great one.
So then what happened? How did you kind of make this crossover to what you're doing now? I assume you're still doing both, though,
Yes,
right?
yes, definitely still doing stand-up, but certainly pivoting the business into more of that corporate comedy. Because of my experience in human resources, my communication.
It's perfect.
You think so?
Yeah,
Thanks,
why didn't you think of that?
You know, honestly, I really think that a part of it was because when I got fired, I was embarrassed, right? So I had built a huge part of my career in that entry-level role, and then I was really proud, like, I'm about to be a manager. Look at me, and then like, oh wait, it didn't work out. Anyway, so how you doing? So I don't think that I was ready to bring that. You know, you get fired, you're already kind of, your self-esteem is a little down, you're questioning yourself, and so then I'm like, let's not talk about the HR piece. Because how do you get fired from human resources is what I kept telling myself. You ever seen the movie Friday? Okay, well, just go with it, okay?
All right, got it.
She meant to say yeah, y'all.
Yeah.
So on Friday, the famous character, he got fired on his day off, right? So one of my jokes is like, that's worse than Craig getting fired on his day off, you in human resources. And they made you fire you before you left. Like, so that's kind of where I was, and not thinking that I even deserved to communicate that piece of my experience. So I was just like, well, let's hit this stand-up. A lot of churches and different ministries would utilize me for the stand-up piece because I don't curse. So I was still getting to, I was getting paid and just moving along, and then thinking I was going to go just straight into that entertainment piece.
Right.
And then the pivot happened because of some of the relationships that I had in the workforce.
And so, well, let's talk about that, because Erica Spencer now works for the city, economic development.
Right.
She has, she's a go-getter. She called Richmond. She's like convinced them to have their statewide workshop here in Hampton.
Yes.
But there's no money for a speaker.
Right.
She begged, right?
Yeah, yes. Because I'm down for the count, right? Like, I'm like, in addition to the fact I don't want to come, you're not even going to pay me. So it's not really motivating to get out of the bed. I got a house to build. You know, we were in a hotel at that time. Because we were in and out. We went to the hotel right after the fire, into an apartment. The contractors weren't done in time. We had to go back into the hotel. All of this almost a year. So she calls, and I had a previous relationship with her from when we worked together years ago. And we followed each other on social media, but we weren't really that close. Right.
Yeah.
So she's like, listen, girl, I remember when you used to do those trainings, so why don't you come and you can do this? And I'm like, Erica, how much I'm like, what? I'm sorry, did you say free? Girl, free? I thought you said free. And she was like, yes, this is a great opportunity. But I saw what she was doing in our, community, so mama ain't raised no fool. I'm like, okay, the city is asking you to do something. This is a great opportunity. I love my city, born and raised here. Both of my parents are from here. So I'm like, all right, I'll do it. And I know that I feel like because I was probably at one of my lowest moments doing that, that's when great stuff happened. So that was a wonderful event. And she started me off at the morning. And so I did comedy and kind of infused it with my message, which is, yes, my house burned down. And they're like, people, oh, is she telling the truth? Ooh, I don't know if I should laugh. Ooh. And so then I said, but, look at the bright side. I have a brand new house. We're tremendously blessed. And so then that was that message of resiliency. Afterwards, people were coming like, this was such a great way to open the conference with comedy first thing in the morning, because I also encouraged them it was a Grow Your Sales conference. So it was a lot for entrepreneurs, small business owners, leaders.
Which is you.
Right. And so, I understand the hustle. Life is really real, but you still got to work because you don't have any PTO, right? Well, some of them do, but if you think about people in the same phase or stage that I'm in, there is that level of you can't sleep in. You can't cry yourself every single day. You got to get up and work and move and grind and have energy. And so it was really inspiring. It was a wonderful, magical moment that day. And then after that, it just well, can you do that same thing? I said, I can do the same thing with the exception I can't do the free part.
Right.
That is for my
turning
city.
Turning it into real now.
Yes. And then that was beneficial because corporate money, it's a lot better than free money, So
my brother-in-law is a musician, and he's like, oh, the conference is the way to go because you're not.
Yes. It's a lot of work. I mean, you still,
You got to tailor it to the audience. You know.
Well, actually, my message is kind of the same. You probably will see the same thing whether you see them at a comedy club, at a church, or at corporate, depending on, obviously, with time and things like that. But it's more so, for me, I still will do those other events, but it's different when it's you and it's not a product and someone wants to book you and then they want to bring you down. You know, you say, well, what's your fee? Let's say, for example, my fee is $100. It is not $100 unless you got an opportunity like Erica. But, you know, let's say the fee was $100. Ooh, 100. Oh, well, what about 50? Can you do 50? Now, you understand on the other end, people, they're just, you know, some people have restrained or restricted budgets, but it's me, right? So it's deflating when you hear someone chip away at you. And it's much more difficult to get, or let me say this, it's easier with corporate because they have those budgets.
They understand they have a budget. Yeah.
Absolutely. And so that made it to where some of those smaller events or smaller restricted budgets I can do free and with a good heart. Because if I get to your event and I know that you used the biggest coupon that you could on me, you know, and they're like, oh, we're so glad to be here. We love you so much. You know, in your mind, you're like, well, do you? You know, I don't really feel, the morale is not there. So in this place, I'm freed up from expecting smaller maybe ministries and nonprofit organizations to take care of my financial obligations, you know what I mean?
That makes sense.
And then I don't have to circumvent, because I'm a stand-up comedian, so I need the repetition. I can't avoid, you gotta get on stage. That's the only way that you can get better. In this way, I'm just like, okay, I can do these, I can work the muscle, work the craft, hone the skill, and not be angry when they give me $17 at the end of this.
Right.
So it's been a tremendous blessing.
And you call that part of your business as you're marketing it?
Yes.
Your conference is coffee?
My conference is coffee. So I'll say your conference is coffee. So because when people started to say to me, you know, girl, this was a great way to wake us up, because, you know, I just laughed so hard and I'm ready to go and I'm listening to them. Then there was I would say, well, y'all needed me. I had to wake everybody up. I'm like the coffee around here. I am the conference's coffee. Your conference is coffee. And I like saying it. Comedy is just your conference's coffee. And then one day I was like, you know, I want some real coffee. I'm going to start a coffee business. And then hence I started a business. We're right in the beginning phases called Black Please Coffee. So we're really excited about.
Show the mug you brought.
Wait. Ding, ding. So, yeah, and this is for you.
Oh, you're so sweet.
Yes, that is for you. So
I'm gonna. You're gonna have to show me how to open it. This is tricky.
Okay, it's Scotch
Oh, there
tape.
it is. Okay.
There you go. All right, let's try again. Ta-da.
So black, please. And I will say, I have just now, after all these years, learned to drink my coffee black.
Really?
Yes, because I was trying to cut the cream and all that stuff.
Yes.
So.
If you want to sweeten it, you can use agave.
I never put sweetener in it, but
Okay.
it was the cream that killed me. So how cool.
Thank you.
How are you're roasting your own coffee? What are you doing?
Well, I'm at the very startup phase. So working with, right now, I think we're going to enter, in a way, private label. And there's a couple of manufacturers, roasters, and one in Suffolk that I'm working with in partnership with. So ideally, we think we're going to start with the private label. But my entry point into the market, or the way that I'm doing the coffee, is like a subscription model. And it is more so my biggest clients will probably be employers. So I'm utilizing or leveraging that HR background and the employee
and the
relations
conference
piece
and all
the
of those things rolling in together.
Because when I was in human resources, I was in employee relations. So I understand the struggle with employee morale, keeping the morale boosted while running a business. I understand from the employee's perspective, a lot of times employees, they're just not motivated. They don't want to go to work. They're not connecting with their leadership. And then on the leadership side, leaders just want you to do your job, right? Or the job that they hired you for. Like in my case, I came, I presented well, I had a great interview, and she wanted me to fulfill that. But there was a disconnect. And in some cases, I've learned over the years, some people you do need to fire. But then there is that group that you don't have to fire, but it requires a different strategy for development. And some leaders don't have those skill sets. So anyway, I felt like, because Black Please is inspiration in a cup. Right? That's our tag. And when we have our cups and things, it'll, like the cups that you put the coffee in, the disposable cups, so it'll have like an inspirational quotes. You got this. You can do this. My personality is naturally encouraging or empowering. And so I'm like, how can I put that brand or part of me into the brand? And so that's with the coffee. So if an employer, let's say, like my doctor's office or my orthodontist, which, by the way, I got to shout out Dr. Daly Orthodontist in Hampton. Oh, I love them. They've been a huge support system. A lot of my doctors have actually. I don't know what it is about.
What does that say?
Right. But my doctor, my eye doctor, Luxury Eyes, Lisa Davis, and also my dentist, Dr. Dennison. So they're really a great community. But I use them as an example. They have coffee for their employees, but also for their customers, their patients. And so I want to offer employers this coffee, little Keurig cups, and it has a little empowering message or inspirational message. And it's just something that the employees get to when they peel off their coffee cup to put in the Keurig or their little thing or their cup, they're reminded, like, my boss got me coffee, just a little note. Employees say all the time that money doesn't always motivate them, right? But they want to know that their boss cares, is paying attention, doesn't just want to, some people just only hear from their boss when they do something negative. But, like, what about the good times? Well, the boss on the reverse end is like, I do care. I do see you, hence why I'm continuing to pay you. But I think that these little perks really kind of help set that atmosphere and that type of environment, because we know, unfortunately, there have been some fatalities. And just when work morale goes down, it can get really, really weird. And this is just a little supplement.
Okay, so this is the point at which all of your life's threads are coming together.
Yes, I call this my blend. So I encourage people to put their blend together. Like, there's some things that are random. It's random that I had employee relations experience, random that I'm funny, random that I'm comfortable trying to be funny in front of an audience, random that I have these stories of resiliency, or, usually what we do is when we don't see how something about us fits, we discard it, right? Or we throw it away. And so in this case, I'm just being who I try to preach. Like, girl, that is really nice that you know how to do hair. And something totally, you wash tires, honey. Don't you know that you, and use all your gifts. Use them, put them together, because you got your unique blend of power. And so that's kind of one of my messages too.
Well, thank you so much. I would just keep talking to you all day, but we
gotta
to
go.
Close.
Okay.
So I will have to follow you and find a show and
so
see you live.
Have to, if you follow me now, you have to do comedian Allison Moore.
Okay.
Because Allison Moore is a famous porn star. It's a white woman. It ain't me. Okay. But you got to do comedian Allison Moore so that you can find me, because some of my fans are like, "Woo, we tried to follow you." I was like, sorry, that wasn't me.
All right. Well, thank you so much.
Thank you.
And thank you for watching. I think in a lot of ways, Allison's story mirrors Hampton's stories. It's not quite 400 years, but it is a tale of burning down and being resilient and finding the next innovative thing that's going to keep you going. So thanks for watching.